X, and while you can do number one, you're fully ready to, help conversations or build a collaboration with this other group who is more capable to do part two. So know your limits, but also show your capabilities. Know what you can do.
Yeah. One of the sections of the reading that we're doing, the book we have, talks a little bit about intangibles, like things that they don't tell you. You know, like you won't read in the RFP and
Really, flow is a big thing. The couple of points you want, again, you want to tell that story. It wants to be very clear where you can draw the line from A to B. This is what's happening. This is the situation. This is why it's important. This is what needs to be done about it. This is how you're going to fix it. This is how you're going to evaluate it as successful. This is why you're the person to do it or the organization to take it on, and this is how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
Every proposal, whether it's a 2-page maximum or a 15-page maximum, has to somehow convey that message. And that significance section, that who cares, that background, this is why it's important, has to relate to the mission of the organization or the funding opportunity. So feed them back some of their language.
Yeah.
One thing I think it's important is to know your audience. Who is going to review your proposal, whether it's a committee of your peers, if you're in a specific discipline, is it going to be your peers? Is it a foundation board made up of leaders in the community? One thing that I had kind of misguided a few people, and when I learned, I thought, well, yeah, you're right. Was the Discovery Group here at Ball State. This group of women who wants to give back to the university. And I'm thinking, well, these are impactful, but you don't want to bog them down with literature references, and it's not a big scientific paper, so you don't need to do all of these different things. And it was quickly pointed out to me that these are all women who are affiliated or have been affiliated with the university in some way or another. So they probably are PhD holders, and they're used to reading those kind of that kind of literature and jargon. Jargon is another big one. Whether you use words that are too big. I can tell a schmooze proposal.
Right,
it's kind of like the car. And one thing we didn't talk about, and I did send this to you, was you can have a bad idea and a bad proposal. It's probably not going to get funded. You want to have a good idea and a good proposal. So don't let them throw you out for silly things, margin or font, or you're over on your page limit, or you didn't address something. Yeah, so I mean, follow the directions. If you tell somebody to do something in a certain way, you want them to do that. So you need to offer that same respect and courtesy back to them.
I think foundation grants are pretty picky. Like federal grants, I mean, I just started doing a review the other night, and I was talking to the program coordinator, and we have over 300 applications for 14 spots. And I can tell you that what they will do first is go through those 300, and anything that has the wrong font, the wrong margin, the wrong number of pages, are immediately, they're not even read.
Right.
They get sort of cut out.
Right, and that's unfortunate because that could be the most brilliant proposal you will never read. Or I've seen foundations where it's a 5-page limit, anything over 5 pages they just remove. And so you get the first 5 pages.
Yeah.
And so they'll still review you, but you better hope all the information you need is in those first couple of pages. So those are good things to see. Have somebody else read your proposal, whether it's your roommate, your significant other, the person down the street, somebody who's going to give you some feedback, honest feedback, and then take what they thought into consideration.
That's a good point, and I think they're going to be doing that through this class because they'll post sections of their proposal as they develop it, like they'll post the needs section. But maybe a good point that I should remind them too is because I think you learn a lot being a reviewer.
Yep.
And so what they will be learning from is not only the process of writing their own proposal, but of reading their peers and their classmates and kind of looking at them and
Absolutely.
giving them feedback.
And they may say something in a certain way, they may present it in a certain way. I've learned so much from so many faculty members over the years, just in reading, and it was like, wow, I wouldn't have said it that way, but it makes sense. Or this really stands out. I never thought about doing call-out boxes or something like that
Right.
in a proposal. The other thing is, think about it, is really is white space on the paper, and what makes it easy to read. You just said there were 300 applications for 14
Yeah.
slots. So as a reviewer, how many of those do you have to read? Will you get 50,
I'll read about 10.
40, 10? Oh, well, it's not too bad, but
They're
still,
about
do you want to
120
be
pages each. so,
well,
yeah.
okay, there you go. So do you want to be the 10th, if you're the 10th proposal that you read that day, what makes you stand out? What
Right,
keeps your
yeah.
attention? So again, in the very beginning, being very clear that they want to keep reading, especially if it's a multi-page
good.
proposal.
Yeah.
If they look at that and it is text from corner to corner and there's no white space or anything like that, your eyes are tired. And I'm doing this like I'm flipping a page, but really, okay, you're scrolling on a screen.
Yeah.
How do you keep them engaged to read to the last page? So if you have a powerful conclusion, that's great. But if you don't start out with something, they're not going to read your conclusion.
Yeah.
And so you also have to think like the reviewer. So making sure that the information's in there is relevant, is key, is on task. Maybe you have headers to help break up certain things.
The subheading.
Yeah, subheadings.
Graphic.
Go. Yes, images. A picture's worth 1,000 words. It really is. You can say sometimes it takes. It never fails because I will see people try to describe an image in 2.5 pages, and it's
Okay.
like this little square, and
Yeah.
it's like, what are you doing? This is what you need.
Yeah.
Refer to the image. Those kind of things are again, it's all key because it's all a package. When you're doing that review, when you send it to somebody else to read, let it sit. You're intimately involved with this proposal and you've read it several times. You're not going to catch every comma or misspelling or even flow. So let somebody else read it, take that into consideration. When you get it back, also look at the review criteria. If it's available, look at the
Yeah.
review criteria and make sure that you can find the answers to those questions. If you can't quickly find them, think about how you've placed them in your proposal. Because that's something too, the reviewers they're reviewing based on that information, they have to be able to find it, so that way they can score you appropriately.
Yeah. Any final thoughts or other points that we didn't cover?
I don't think so. Just really think a lot about that, about evaluation. I will say one other thing about contingency plans, that
Okay.
especially if you are doing a bigger project. So we've talked about what success looks like and how you're going to evaluate success. Well, what if you don't reach that? Does that mean it's a failure? Maybe not. And so making sure that if you don't obtain that, well, what is your contingency plan? What if nobody shows up to your play? You're going to do this
Okay.
wonderful
That's a good
this
point.
wonderful
Yeah.
show. What if nobody shows up because maybe you planned it on the wrong day? Or what have you? Does that mean it was a failure? Was it a waste of money? Or you can't do? So what is your backup plan? They want to know that you're smart. Nothing goes the way you think it
Mhm.
will. You think you're going to go from A to B, and actually you're going to hit the other 24 letters before you get in between those two.
Yeah. So, or if you're going to do a seminar or something, like, how can you make sure that you're going to have people attend, or
Right.
what kind of things are you going to do to sort of ensure that things are going to work out?
Right, so maybe you're going to broadcast it online, you're going to make the information available through dissemination, you're going to highlight, you're going to have a special speaker, you're going to post it in different ways
Get
to
people to
advertise
sign
it.
up or
So
to know,
the
yeah.
RSVP. So those are good things too. And it's so hard because we say grant making and grant writing like it's this one big umbrella, and it is focused if you're doing a research project or a community-based project or a school-based project. It is all different. So there is no one formula.
Yeah.
So remember that. So that's where you have to use the guidelines, the review criteria, use the program officers, ask them questions. They're there to answer questions
Right.
about your program. So if you have questions, ask them, but also be respectful of their time and of their response. There's nothing more frustrating to a program officer when they say, you really need to have a partner for this, and then you turn in your proposal and there's no partner.
Yeah.
The first thing you're going to say is, I told them they needed a partner. So again, it's almost like disregarding the review guidelines. So just be smart about it. Have somebody else read it. You know, ask questions. Use the program officer, and make sure that you're telling the story without leaving anything out.
Yeah. And I think maybe one thing too, kind of related to that, like piece by piece part, is that even though it might seem pretty daunting, if they look at all the things we're talking about here, like, you know what I mean, that can
Right.
seem overwhelming. But I think if they sort of take it as a process, piece by piece, and just sort of keep these in the back of their head, but still just work on it one step at a time, it's not really that hard.
Right, it is. It is piece by piece. It is planning. It is mapping it out. If you sit down tonight to write a 120-page proposal, you're probably not going to do very well. But if you take it piece by piece and really set it up, make sure it's a good funder. It is feasible. People do it all the time. I mean, that's job security for me. But we have an office full of professionals who are banking on that faculty are writing proposals and students. So people are. It is competitive. So you need to make sure if this is something you're going to take on, that you take it on with the seriousness. Somebody else is giving you money to do a project. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
And you know, people, you can't get back your time investment, but they want to make sure they're giving you this money to do something impactful.
Yeah.
On behalf of their foundation, their organization, what have you. So.
But the other side is you can genuinely do some projects you're really, really passionate
Yeah,
about. You
right.
can really create those.
Right.
things
That you
that
could
really
never have done
yeah.
alone. It's not all of us are independently involved.
Right.
Good.
Maybe on that note, well, yeah,
There we
and so
go.
thank you very much. I really appreciate your time.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.